Welcome, everyone. We are so excited. It is finally October. Are we not?
Finally.
Finally. But before we dive into physical mediumship, we want to talk about where our heads have been at with Shades of Spirit. So, Spiritwalker Nicole, now we have totally been called to do this work in support of the people listening and the people yet to listen. We have to take a look at our own journey. And in doing so, we realized we need to think bigger to support what people need right now. Divorce rates, suicide rates, people dying, people not knowing where to turn and feeling isolated. Shades of Spirit has decided to do something super cool to support all of you.
Yeah, so we're looking to create new opportunities for all of you, the listeners and viewers, to work with us. The holidays are coming up, and we want to do it in a way that's going to be impactful and long-lasting for you. So basically, we're asking you to let us know what you need. Call us up. We design packages for people. It's a lot of our clients lately. It's not just been about talking to their past loved ones. They want direction. They want to talk to their guides. They want to hear from their angels. They do want to hear from grandma from time to time, but it's like a little bit of everything. And we can do that. And we customize these sessions for you. We're listening. Give us a call because we're expanding this business. We're growing it. We want to reach as many people as we can, and just let us know what you need and we'll make that happen.
I love it. I love it. We're growing, we're listening, and it's all about what we can do for you. So definitely contact us. We'll give you all different ways to do that throughout the show. Now, for those of you tuning in who have not met us yet, I'm Psychic Medium Jamie.
And I'm Spiritwalker Nicole.
This is a live call-in show. We do have our Oracle cards with us. You can always call us at 1-800-930-2819. Now, Paranormal Month for us is exciting because we love everything, paranormal. We love everything. That's why we're called Shades of Spirit, right? And the first thing we wanted to approach this month was physical mediumship. So let's talk about where physical mediumship came from, shall we?
Yeah. Physical mediumship isn't as popular as it once was way, way back in the day. So it's always good to kind of look back and check it out. Mental mediumship has taken over. But that doesn't mean physical mediumship isn't interesting and cool. So basically, it all got started with three sisters. That was, they were called the Fox sisters back in Hydesville, New York in 1848. The sisters' names were, the oldest was Lee. It's either Lee or Leah, I'm not sure. I don't know how to pronounce that. The next was Maggie, and at that 1848, she was 14 years old, and then Kate, who was 11 at the time. So the Fox sisters are known for using these, basically they're like wrappings, so like knocks and sounds. They use those to convince people that they were communicating with spirits. So basically in March of that year, they told their neighbor that they were hearing a series of raps on the walls and furniture, and they thought it was from a spirit. So the neighbor was intrigued and came over to kind of see for herself. And that's kind of where it was born. So the neighbor started talking about it, and other people would come, and spiritualism was sort of born there, and physical mediumship specifically. So the family eventually left the house, and then Maggie and Kate went to live with their older sister, Leah. And Leah just happened to live in Rochester, New York. And Rochester was very progressive in that time. And so the people that heard about this, they started coming. And Leah, she was older, but she also happened to be a medium. And so Leah kind of took over, and then the sisters began to tour. And so they would go all over and demonstrate these wrappings, basically, from the spirit. And they became very well known. Leah decided to come back to New York, and Maggie and Kate continued to tour. So basically they all got married, And then eventually Maggie, she left spiritualism because her husband didn't like it. She also became an alcoholic. And then Kate, she married a spiritualist and she became very successful. Business really boomed for Kate, especially because this was going on during the Civil War. But she too became an alcoholic as well.
I can't imagine doing this during the Civil War.
I know.
Like actually having people come and want to see it.
Yeah, at the height of the Civil War, they said that there was an estimated 8 million spiritualists.
That is insane.
People needed more. Like they wanted to talk to their loved ones. They wanted to hear from them. And it was an incredible time to be a medium during that time. So what happened, and they built a business, very successful, but they did all start drinking, as did Kate. So she became an alcoholic as well. So, but in October of 1888, Maggie dropped a bomb. So she was paid $1,500. Now they were all their businesses were waning. They were sort of destitute.
But think about $1,500 back then.
Oh yeah.
That was like big time for them.
Yeah. So this publication paid Maggie to say publicly that she and her sisters were faking it the entire time. So, but basically, and the plot thickened as well, though, because she did this, well, one, for the money. And then two, she said because later on, she said that she only said that because Leah and other spiritualists had been calling her out publicly for her alcoholism. And they were saying that she wasn't a fit mother, trying to take her kids away. So, and to kind of exact a little revenge, that's when she went and said that it was all fake. And she was talking about ways that they faked it. It was, at first they said it was, she would tie like a string to an apple and drop the apple on the floor. Then it became that she could crack her knuckles and do all this crazy stuff that would resonate out. And so that was kind of it. So after that, everyone kind of took sides in the spiritualist movement. Either, they said that, no, that she's lying. The other one's in this, no, she isn't lying. The spiritualism is all fake. And that was that. Maggie tried to take her confession back a year later, but by then the damage had been done. So that's kind of where it started. And then after that, it was kind of an exploration of physical mediumship and people, which we'll talk about in the next segment. They started using different tools and we'll talk about the good and the bad with that. But that's where it all got started, was with the Fox sisters. And it was spreading all over the world. The girls were touring. It really took off in England. So yeah.
What's interesting with that is that we think 8 million spiritualists. Excuse me, you guys, I swallowed wrong and I'm choking, so that's fine for the show today. First one on here. But to have it be controversial even back then. Now, who's to say what's right and what's wrong?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. I think I think there was some sort of pressure, especially at the beginning of spiritualism, to prove using physical mediumship. That's a way that people could connect, because other than that, it's just taking the medium at their word that, okay, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm hearing. But physical mediumship brings about a different way of everybody can hear that, or everybody can see that, or whatever it is. And I think that's why it was so popular back then, because that kind of made it for everybody, rather than just the medium sitting there.
And it made it real. So if you're hearing these sounds, things levitating, they'll talk about ectoplasm emitting from items and the mediums. I mean, there's so much out there. We could do a topic every day for 6 weeks and not cover what physical mediumship started to evolve into, which is really interesting. That's why we're going to bring up a couple different physical objects that people used way back then to be able to wow the audience, so to say, right? They'll have seances or spirit circles. They'll have people sit around a trumpet. All of a sudden, an apport will appear, and something fell out of the trumpet or appeared on the middle of the table. They'll have table tipping. or table turning, transfiguration. These are some things we're going to talk about in the next segment because it's interesting. If you could see it with your eyes, you're going to believe it's there, right? Except some of the skeptics, which were rightfully so. Like they should have been skeptical on some of these things being created. And yet we find it so interesting. We want to learn everything we can about spirit and the paranormal that we actually have used some of these modalities in workshops. Some we've had luck with, some we have not. So we're going to cover that in the next episode. I want to touch base on this real quick before we go to break. Did you guys know that I'm hosting a brand new show? I'm going to debut with Dr. Pat on the 14th of October at 11 a.m. And then I will start in November. It'll be a bi-weekly show, and I'll be also hosting a radio show once a month as well that's going to cover a much more broad network. So I wanted to celebrate, and I'm going to branch off. Yep. You guys can get a 1-hour reading for $88. That's it. $88 for an hour reading with me, psychic medium Jaime. But if you think about it, our hour rate for Spiritwalker Nicole and I is only $150. So you're still saving $26 and you're getting 2 mediums for the price of 1. So that's what's up for October. You guys can give us a call at 858-684-7575 to set that up with us. You can visit our Facebook page, check it out, check out our testimonials, and you can book your appointment through that modality as well. So we will see you coming up very shortly after this break. Welcome back, everybody. We are working on my microphone issue. So for those of you that have noticed that and responded, thank you so very much. All right. So our topic today is physical mediumship, right? So we just learned a little bit about the Fox sisters and where it originated from. Again, we could go on for days and days and days with the amount of research out there. They have books. There's just stuff everywhere. So if you're interested, definitely look it up. Do some research about it. I wanted to go more into the things that we could see physically with our physical eyes. So I picked out 3 different ways that they would use physical mediumship back in the 1800s in the seance circles, or psychic circles as they would also call them. And they're items that we have purchased or have made. You'll see my makeshift transfiguration light as well. But it was to test them out and test them out in groups in our psychic circles. We had a great time last year when we could all get together before COVID and did a circle with about 10 to 12 people on physical mediumship. And we told them, hey, you know what? Some things work for us, some things don't. We had slates out. Those didn't always work. Pendulums, we taught people how to use them. Slates have never worked. It makes a mess. I get chalk all over the floor. I have to clean it up. Pendulums, that's a different story. Those are also a divining tool. We'll use dowsing rods, whatever it might be. But one of my favorites is this fun dunce cap looking item here. This is a trumpet. So it's made out of tin. You can make it out of steel. It's pliable. It's easy to fold and unfold. But one of the things that they believed is that no one should touch the psychic or medium's trumpet, right? So that was a big thing, is that, the energy which is hold. And again, remember, we're energy, made of energy. We expend that energy out into physical objects. And they were like, don't touch my trumpet. Well, in class, of course, I want you to feel it. I want you to see it. I want you to look through it, right? So we have them looking through that, making sure that it's clear, that it's not rigged, right? Mm-hmm. There's no little string hanging in the bottom with a bell that we pull. And what we do with the trumpet is you would generally set it up in the middle of your circle, right? And it said that spirits speak through a voice box of ectoplasm, if you so believe that that's possible. As a medium, I just know that I'm communicating with spirit. I don't know how that's done, but I do know that that works for me. So for me, I'm just thinking they're going to speak through this trumpet. And then what happens is that there are alleged cases that it would rise up, right? And that it would go over, float to the person, and you'd be in this pitch black dark circle. So again, makes you wonder, right? We can become skeptics as well for stuff like this. And then you'll hear, but it could be that it's floating by me and yet it's heard across the room to someone else. Spirit trumpets were originally created by spiritualists who claim they could magnify the whispers. So that makes sense on why they created it like this, right? So if you think of cheerleaders, same concept. It's that megaphone thing that they're holding up there and they're yelling into. So they're thinking they could use that concept in order to create something different, something cool. Did it work? Did it not work? You read it on both sides. This is a particular modality we have had no luck with, right? It is not levitated. It hasn't gone around the circle. It hasn't left us an A-port. So the act of trumpet mediumship is better defined as direct voice mediumship. And that's what they were going for back then. Trumpets are generally placed, like I said, in the middle of that psychic circle. And then they will supposedly leave you gifts from spirit, which is called an apport. They got that term from the French, meaning to bring, right? So they're saying that spirit is bringing us gifts through this particular modality. Well, first of all, for me, I'm thinking, well, hell, I can get a voice out of it and a present. That's cool, right? But we haven't seen that yet. And we have actually left it up, which is very cool. I took it to a retreat that a friend of mine was having last year, and we set it up in kind of a dark circle controlled environment. And what's interesting is that you can see what looks like smoke coming out the top, or you can see it waving back and forth at the tip, and it's really cool. But is it just a party trick? Is it your eyes being manipulated by the light, by the reflection off of the trumpet? I mean, you guys can see just here that it's tin. There's a reflection. We don't know. So some of us will believe, and some of us will, want to do more research on it. They may doubt that that even works. Another fun thing about trumpets is that if it was able, this is my thing, if it was able to go around the circle and tell everybody something, why are they not telling me the lotto numbers? I mean, that's first and foremost for me. And how does it end back in the middle of the circle? So that's why physical mediumship had an eyebrow raised as time went on, because people did buy into it. They want to believe in something new, especially something unseen. So now they've got physical things, and yet they turn off all the lights and stick you in a circle, and now you're not quite sure what's happening. So again, this is the trumpet. No, we have not had any luck on that as well. Will we stop practicing with it or playing with it? I know I won't, by any means. It's too much fun. The second one, this is the one I really thoroughly enjoy, is table tipping or table turning. Okay. So again, at that workshop, that weekend that we did with a friend of ours, we had different size tables set up. So I had a TV tray, a couple basic card tables, and then a couple of the big tables that we would eat at. And you would get a group of people together around each one of those tables, and you all have to have the same intention. So this doesn't work as well if somebody is doubting, a little skeptical, which is okay. Always have that. We want to dismiss all of that skepticism and have ourselves be in the moment. And I was surrounded by a table of 3 other people, and we'd use the TV tray. And what you can do with them is that the table will start to tip and rotate and rise and fall and start to walk, and it spins with you. But the way that you're doing it is from your fingertips, right? So you are lightly putting your fingertips on this table, and you will get a little bit of momentum going. And then you call in, we like to call in our physical medium guides. Okay. So we will bring them in. I know this sounds really woohoo, you guys, but it's so cool. Like, why not try something different? Right. And so we actually were able to bring in some guides and have the clients in their minds. Now, they did not say their questions out loud, but use it as a pendulum or use it as a Ouija board. So yes, this is how the Ouija board got started, is because it would spell out letters to them. Back then, they didn't have the concept of the Ouija board yet. They did this. And I'm thinking, my goodness, do you know how long that would take for them to spell out an entire sentence? But they were dedicated to this practice. And we had some really cool and actually some emotional experiences through this modality. Again, is it legit? We seem to think so. This particular one, we've seen it work. But then again, will somebody else dismiss it as something else, something physically we're doing? Absolutely. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. So I also enjoy a little bit of transfiguration, okay? That'll be the third one right now we're going to talk about today. Again, there's lots of different physical mediumship ways, but you could get yourself a regular flashlight, okay? And I know, how hokey does that look? But you put red tape on it. Now, sometimes they'll do these dark circles in obviously a dark room, and they will have something set up that has a red light on it, okay? And what you do is you take that red light, you guys can kind of see that's on, and they hold it underneath the person's face. That is going to allow spirit to come in and manipulate the energy. They called it back then the ectoplasm. For me, I feel it's just the energy, allowing ourselves to take the energy of the spirit on in order to transform our look. And we'll have some pictures up back on our website of this happening with this workshop we did last year. And let me tell you, when everyone sits around and you hold this still, okay, so there isn't the chance that somebody's moving it around here and, oh, I see a shadow, and then they move it over here. They're sitting very still, and you can see them because obviously the light is on their face, right? And you will start to see their physical attributes change. I loved LaShawn. She's done this twice with us. And she actually has given out beautiful messages to two people that she was actually bringing in the energy of a past loved one and a guide for someone else. And she changed from looking female, and she's very slender. I mean, this is like a jazzercise guru, right? Who eats M&Ms for dinner. So she's very slender, and she just had this face filled out, and she had what looked like black hair coming over. You can see people having mustaches come through, right? And it's about allowing that energy to come through. You have to do these safely. So I'm not recommending you go get a flashlight, grab your red tape, and then sit in your closet and see what happens with a friend. If you do, you need to be empowered in all of these modalities. Anytime we work with spirit, it's about empowerment, right? It's calling in your spirit team. It's letting that time you're spending with spirit be known that this is only done out of love and light for my highest and best. I do not allow anything else in. And it's being in that moment and enjoying it. That's the part of this that I love, is that we can enjoy it. And then we properly close these down as well. This goes for Ouija boards, but we'll talk about that next week, okay? It's about closing down each one of these sessions and allowing ourselves to then clear the energy out of our space, which you can do by calling in Archangel Michael. You can call in Archangel Raphael, your own angels, your spirit guides, and allow them to come through and be with you at the moment, and then let them clear all that energy out so that you know that you're back in your own space. So after our quick break, we're going to go into physical mediumship versus mental mediumship, right? Reminding you that this is a live call-in show, so you can call in 1-800-930-2819 for a spirit card pull today. And what I want you guys to also know is that with everything going on in the world today, my spirit team has been harping on me that we need to empower more people to become energy workers, right? So I'm offering a one-day intensive Reiki 1 workshop where you will be getting a certificate that says that you have accomplished the Dr. Asui's method of Reiki 1. I have 2 spots left. I only take 4 people for these workshops. So I have 2 spots left. That is coming up on Saturday, October 17th from 10 a.m. to 3:30.
Is it Zoom?
It is through Zoom. The attunement is through Zoom as well. We've had very good feedback from our past couple groups that we have done with this modality. You get paired up with a mentor. You get to be put on the Facebook page with the Reiki students. You guys will learn from one another as well. We give you practicals to do. So that is $175 for the 5.5 hours for Reiki 1 on September 17th. And we're also doing that evening a release and intentions workshop. Those tickets are only $10. That is through Zoom. And this month, our topic is going to be connecting with archangels and using them to help us and empower us and reminding us that they're here to be able to work through our energy to get us where we want to go on our journey. So stay tuned and we'll be back after this break. All right, everybody. Spooky talk today. I love it. Physical mediumship, right? We've talked about different tools that they used. We've talked about the Fox sisters and how everything seemed to go fine and dandy until someone threw money at one of them, right? And $1,500 back then was a lot of money. And all of a sudden now it's fake. And they explain how they actually did that and how their mom trained them to do that. And yet then went back on that message as well. And nowadays, it's those of us that are, in tune with energy and spirits, and even those of us that aren't, who just think, hey, this is a cool, and this could be, hey, this is a cool thing. Let me debunk it. Cool. Let's try. Let's do that. And so many people have been out there trying to debunk psychics, mediums, physical mediumship, mental mediumship, right? That you don't know where to turn. It's like watching a tennis match. But that goes for anything. We were talking about that this morning, that like, she's going, oh my gosh, this person and this scientist, and how do they even have the right tools? And I go, it's like global warming, right? You have one side that says, oh my gosh, we are destroying the planet. It's causing, all the global warming that's happening. And you have the other side going, no, that's not a real thing.
Well, for some people, it's always black or white.
Yep.
There is no gray, but like doing the research for our show, I've been to some spiritualist churches, and they do talk about the Fox sisters,
Mhm.
but they kind of stop at a certain point, and
Yeah.
they don't go into like what we talked about earlier, and of all the drama and stuff like that went on. So they'll use it kind of as an introductory thing, but then they just kind of glide over that, which I don't like. Like, give me the whole story and let me decide.
Hmm.
But a lot of, the research that I did for this, you get on these pages and it's just, they're like, nope, all mediums, physical mediums, mental mediums, whatever you want to call them, people that claim that they can communicate with spirits, it's all a bunch of BS. Never has science proven that that's possible. And I asked Jamie, I said, well, what tools do they have what scientific tools exist that can prove that grandma's not sitting here talking? You know what I mean?
I was, you know what I pictured when you said that? Ghostbusters, right? They'd be the best one to show for ectoplasm,
Oh yeah.
right? The slime that comes out. But is that what people are thinking? That's what ectoplasm is, that they're going to come out and be slimed by spirit, right? From this
Well,
goes back to like the movies and shows of what we're seeing.
yeah, and unfortunately though, like, when I think back in the day when physical mediumship was at its prime, even legit mediums felt that pressure to
Hmm.
produce that. And they use the darkness as a cover. And even if they were good, they're like, well, it's not enough. Like I need more. And so they would use the props, and then it would just give everybody it just gave the whole thing a bad name.
Yeah.
And they would fake the ectoplasm, if you will. And it's just like, oh man, they just did such a disservice. But it's funny. I, I don't know. Just reading the articles and talking to people, it's I'm not going to change anybody's mind. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, they're either going to believe that what we do or they don't. I just don't understand. And especially the people that are listening, like, how do you discount the signs that you get every day? Like when you walk down the hallway and you can smell your grandma's perfume, or just the signs that you get when you're out, when you a license plate or numbers, the number sequences that you get. Like, how do you just say, no, that's a coincidence? I mean, you might see 20 a day sometimes, but because a scientist can't stand there in his lab coat and clipboard and tell you, oh, scientifically I can prove this is correct, that's ridiculous.
That's
But
why we have our clients work inward.
mhm,
So do you feel this resonates with you? What does your gut tell you? What does your intuition tell you? What does your heart tell you? I had a friend that did the same thing. Like, she was smelling cookies and her friend's mom had just passed. And she's like, what do I do with this? And I go, maybe she's coming for you. You guys were close friends. But she's driving in her car on the freeway and she's smelling cookies being baked out of nowhere. Is that a conscious thing that's happening? Subconscious? Is she making it up in her head? Was she thinking about her mom beforehand? How do you dismiss these signs? I know I'm not baking chocolate chip cookies in my car. So that's a great idea. Don't do it.
I mean, I realize that probably our viewpoint is skewed as well, just because we see it so much.
Absolutely.
And this is what we do. And we give readings and we talk to people. We get their reactions the minute it happens, and we get to see their revelations. So then on our side, we're like, how can you not believe? And then somebody else is like, you guys are insane. So it's like, okay,
Yep.
where do you land? In the 1920s, Harry Houdini, Harry freaking Houdini had enough of psychics and physical mediumship, and he like started this bizarre campaign to debunk and I'm like, who's this guy? Like, we got enough.
Yep.
Right? But he's like, I mean, what would you call him? An illusionist of his day,
Yeah,
an
absolutely.
escape artist.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's just so funny. The more you get into this, the more fascinating it is.
But for those illusionists, magicians, however they want to title themselves, it is about the object of illusion.
Hmm.
So when we're sitting down with our clients, you're going to see that I haven't gotten up and gone anywhere. I don't have my phone with me. There is nothing that would say that when I have your grandmother coming in and I smell rhubarb pie, I've never eaten a piece of rhubarb pie in my life, nor have I made one, nor did anybody in my family. And they spell that out for me, and the validation with that client right there, those are those little signs. But again, not everybody has to believe. That's the joy of life, right? That's the free will that kicks in. I love some of the other things you've got on there of people that have tried to debunk it or, go against mental mediumship and physical mediumship as well, because it just shows that we are being open-minded. And that's what cracks me up. If you're trying to debunk it, you're also open-minded to it.
Well, yeah, and I know that there are scientists out there of faith, that they go to church on Sundays and then they go to their day job and of proving and disproving and their theories and things like that. But it's like, well, if you do that, if you you believe in a heaven or hell, so you're open to that possibility, but yet you're saying that the dead cannot come back, they cannot talk, done, because I can't prove it. Okay, whatever. Like, it's just like you can expend a bunch of energy trying to prove that you're right or wrong or whatever, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's how open are you, do you want to connect? And if you do, cool, and if you don't, that's okay too. No one's for, like, we're not building this business forcing people to change to our ways of thinking and things like that. We're just here.
That's big. We're not, and that's why we learn everything we can. So becoming a Reiki master and working with energy was big for me. Energy can be proven, that we are made of energy, right? And yet I have a student who just said to me this past weekend at our sacred circle, I feel like I'm not doing anything. Well, okay, good. So let's move into that further. And that's the same thing with mediumship. That's the same thing with physical mediumship. It's sometimes you feel like you're not doing anything. And yet if you get the proper scientific cameras out that regulates body temperature and heat centers and all those type of things with energy work, you're going to see. I've actually taken pictures during a session of someone who turned their Reiki on during a paranormal investigation and watched the centers within her crown chakra, her third eye chakra, move down into her throat chakra, open up on every single picture. And it was amazing to watch that process. She never told us what she was doing. I was just capturing it on film. That to me was like, holy crap, this is happening. So what else do you have over there for people that have, poo-pooed the physical mediumship and mental mediumship?
I think mainly it's just about, I think it's just about the openness. Like, you can read books about why physical mediumship and mediumship in general is, you can read a million books on why it's all garbage, or you can read about astonishing, like, actual mediums that are amazing in what they do, and they don't use the darkness. They don't, like, they will just get up, or you can go to a session with them and you can see them, you can see if they're looking, I mean, like, it's just what you have to use your own intuition onto what's real and what's not. And I think that that's just like the most important message.
Well, that goes the same for pendulums, right, you guys? So here's a beautiful pendulum. It's got our chakras on it, right? Now, I can ask it to spin yes. And I know a lot of you out there use pendulums. And I can ask it to spin no. I also ask it to show me the energy centers, where the energy is spinning, right? And with that, I probably use this 1 out of every 50 readings, if that. I do not use this modality, this physical mediumship modality, in my readings, because it can be construed as me moving the string, right? So I'm not saying that if you have a psychic that you've gone to or medium and they're working with a pendulum, they are doing this on purpose, that it's trickery. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying for me personally, for me to be authentic and true to myself, I very rarely will pull this out, because what can happen is that I can say, is Spiritwalker Nicole wearing a red shirt? And I can move it this way. No, she's wearing a red shirt. Is her grandmother with me? Oh, with the slightest move of my hand, this is suspended on chain. Some are string, some are cord, right? Oh, your grandmother's here. Well, for her, it's like a Whoopi Goldberg moment in Ghost, right? Where she's over here holding onto her sister's hands, looking at her sisters, trying to get an eye for the lady sitting across from her, right? Yes, that's my husband. Yes.
Orlando,
right? That's what we're talking about. So we're going to come back to this. We're going to take a quick short break. We're going to pull a oracle card for the collective today out of the 7 energies deck, and we will wrap this up. Now, if you have any questions, you can also put that on Facebook. Olivia is monitoring that as well. We can answer those before we go. It's not too early to register for our November Sacred Circle. We just had our October. It's the first Saturday of every month. It is 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We only take 10 people per circle, because you get an intimate evening with us. It's $25. You get a mini reading with us, which lasts about 15 to 20 minutes, right? So it's helping you with direction. Might be you need some validation. It's a spiritual check-in is what it is. We talk about our radio show monthly topics because it's the beginning of the month, and let's kick this off. We all interact with one another. The greatest thing we had this time is I think we had 3 or 4 students that joined us. And so they were actually pulling cards as well to get validation and practice themselves. And it actually completely correlated with the message that we were getting from Spirit as well. And if we get enough people, which I think we're going to, we're going to open up a second day as well, because these are supposed to be intimate and with just those people. And you can do that through Facebook at Shades of Spirit LLC. You can also do it through our website. You can email us, admin@shadesofspirit.com. Our website will be going into a little bit of a revamp, which we're super excited about, but check it out, www.shadesofspirit.com. And you can also find updated information on transformationtalkradio.com as well. And we will see you after this break. Welcome back, everybody. All right, you can see I'm shuffling. We've got a card to pull here. So I'm going to start out with one of our listeners right now. Gina, we're going to go ahead and pull a card for you. You tuned in at break and let us know that you were ready for a card, so that way you can get back to work, because I'm sure you've got to be at work soon, or maybe you don't, but I'm going to do it first. I'm pulling a card for you today out of the Moonology book, because we are in the middle now. We're just coming out of this harvest moon here for October. We'll go into the new moon on the 17th, and then we'll hit the blue moon, full moon on Halloween. Okay, so this is a big month for manifesting. It's a big month for releasing and intentions. Now, little do you know, maybe you do know, oracle cards are also a form of physical mediumship. And it's a modality that they can use. You can physically see it, right? And what I like about cards is they will 99.9% of the time confirm and validate the message that I gave on the medium side of it, connecting with their spirit guides, their angels, their loved ones. Sometimes we'll start one out and somebody will burst into tears because that's right where their energy is at the moment. And then we'll go through the reading. So these are actually also a tool that they use, oracle cards. You could go traditional tarot. You could call them spirit cards. You can call them oracle cards. We like to call them spirit cards because we don't read traditional tarot. I will have a deck or two around, and I just let spirit work through me. So we don't even read the entire book. So when we do your sessions on phone or Zoom sessions, we send you pictures of these cards and the book pages, because we get the gist of it, and then we allow ourselves to really filter the information through spirit. That's why you're with us. So for you, Gina, you must have a couple of things going on that you've got some questions on, because you have the nothing is set in stone. And you've got the ocean right there and the beautiful moon that's over the ocean, right? And this is a mutable moon. And what they're telling me with the nothing set in stone part of it is that it is time for you to step back and gain some clarity, which is why it's over the water. It is time for you to wrap some things up this year. Absolutely. So I feel like now you're like in transition of 2021 and making some bigger choices, some bigger decisions within yourself and then within the family. This particular card says, I know the best will unfold for me. So you are moving in that direction every day. You always have been. But now this is solely about you, not anybody else around you, and moving that energy up. It says you're meandering towards your goals, and that's okay. But now I want you to kick it into high gear, especially this month. Start releasing some of that energy that you're holding in and putting out there into the universe. All right, we're going to be sandwiched between these two full moons. I'm going to take this energy and harness it. Remember, the moon energy is just as strong as our own. The moon and the sun and the earth and their alignment affects tides, right? And as you can see in this card, the tides are a little bit rocky behind, and then you see it smooth out in the front. And that's what's happening is that everything is smoothing out for you as well. It also says, make sure you're not being led astray. Follow your heart, follow your intuition. That's a key component for you. If it doesn't feel right, and I know that you're a very strong woman, then step back and say, this is not right, and I will not go down that path. Stay with it, whatever it means to you. And that's very key as well. Stick with what your thoughts are, because they are acknowledging, they've got the light bulb over your head. Yes, this is going to work for you. It's a little bit of meandering, but now you're going to gain that focus, that clarity, and you're going to jump into this endeavor, if you will, is kind of what they're showing me. You'll have to make a decision by the end of November, Thanksgiving time, and then you'll see something along the lines of February is what they're also showing me. Others will struggle with the uncertainty, but should stay with it a little bit longer. Nothing is set in stone yet because I feel like you do have two different ways you can go with this. What's interesting is that they're actually pulling me towards the right. I feel like you're going to know what this means because it's more fluid. And if you go to the left, you're going to be going down this like jagged road. And they're talking about traveling, get out. I know that this is COVID and we're all being safe, but even if it's a day trip somewhere and some time alone for you as well, because it's really time for you to reflect and see how you're going to get to that next step. But it's happening. You're just meandering towards it. Now it's time for you to kick it into full gear and go. And I'm going to leave you with that. So thank you so much for tuning in, Gina. I got it all under control. At least I'm not choking anymore. It's for me, it's a good thing. So like we were talking about, I'm going to pull one card for the collective here in just a second, but different modalities, different ways to talk to spirit, to have them come through like this cool trumpet floating around and whispering messages to us and leaving us aports, right?
It's never happened.
It's never happened, but it's a cool thought.
Oh yeah.
But am I saying that it isn't possible? Not at all.
Well, actually, what I was taught was that it has to be in a pretty like settled, like an established circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like people have to commit to getting together a certain amount of time. And sometimes it takes years to just sit in that circle. And then you have much more success as opposed to just sitting down with a group of people and going, okay, let's see if this works. It has to be a more like serious commitment.
Absolutely. Now there's cool things like these, right? If you haven't seen these before, no, it's not a Ouija board. It's actually a way to divine with a pendulum. We have a couple different ones here. As you can tell, the angel one is Spiritwalker Nicole, and I've got the beautiful sun and moon combo right there. And you can work with your pendulum on the alphabet part to spell things out for you, similar to a Ouija board. And what was interesting is that as we were using it, it was spelling out my grandmother's name, which Spiritwalker Nicole did not know. She's like, what is Etha? And I go, that's my grandmother. She was coming through. And yet she doesn't know her first name. She's never met my grandmother. There's different ways to get messages through these different modalities as well. What I love about, and Gina's husband is actually really excellent at dowsing rods as well. These are also a way of physical mediumship. And we just did these, and we'll have pictures posted this month with our show on using them to work with spirit energy. So dowsing rods were used to find ley lines. They were to find water. I learned how to make these 20 years ago to be able to look for stones and crystals out on property. And it was fun because it was something different. But we can actually, when they cross, know where the spirit energy is if you set the intention to that. And what was really cool is that it worked really, really well for one of our clients, and she actually got a connection with her father and got to ask him some questions personally.
I think like one of the biggest things is just to have fun. Like it doesn't always have to be just, medium sometimes like just they see people sitting and crying and, like it's beautiful connection, but it's also good to have a good time and try out new stuff. And I don't know, just enjoy the experience. What is the card you pulled for everyone?
Tender Embrace. This is the third time this card has popped up in like the past week. And this card is number 22. So talk about signs, talk about numbers. It's amazing, this particular card. And I'm going to give you guys a brief meaning of it here in 1 minute. I want you guys to focus. This is the collective card for everyone, what we need to focus on today. Key concepts: compassion, warm-hearted, care for self and others, sensitivity, empathy, kindness. Put your hand on your heart and breathe deeply, inhaling a sense of gratitude. Now, how do you feel? Connecting. It's with yourself first, embracing that spirit side of you, your higher self first, and then being able to do it towards others. Compassion is an emotion of tenderness and sensitivity. Now is the time to reduce that pain and focus on compassion in all areas of your life. And when we have self-compassion, then we can move it outward. And that's very key for you guys today. We need to have compassion for one another right now with what's going on in the world, what's going on in our homes, what's going on in spirit. Today, make a commitment to practice self-compassion. Release yourself from the burdens of perfectionism, allow yourself the grace to be human, and then do the same for others. That's big. That's very big. I'm going to post this on our Facebook page today as well. Remember that we've got a special. I've got an $88 1-hour reading for the month of October, or you can get 2 mediums for the price of one at $150. So that's Spiritwalker Nicole and myself. You can reach us at 858-684-7575, our Facebook page, Shades of Spirit LLC, to make an appointment now. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in for our physical mediumship. We will see you next week for different paranormal equipment ideas and some Ouija board talk. All right, you guys, have a wonderful week. Thank you very much.